Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. It's Saturday, the 8th of July at 6 a.m. and it's bloody freezing outside. We're in the middle of winter here. I haven't seen a star in the night sky for at least 2 weeks, and it's driving me freaking nuts. As you know, I like to get out there and take photos of the night sky, and I'm just not doing it at the moment because there's nothing to shoot. The only, I guess, silver lining to that, to the cloud, no pun intended, is that it's full moon, so I can't do it anyway. But today we've got some pretty cool conversations to have. I'll bring on Mr. McMillan first to say good day. Morning, Greg.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad at all. Nice, beautiful weather here. 20 degrees. Sunshine.
It's cold enough that for me in the middle of the day I'm still walking outside in a coat and beanie and everything else. It's the wind, everything's wet. I drove a tractor into a paddock the other day and near got bogged, and that's just into a paddock that just shouldn't be that wet. We've had plenty of rain here there's enough rain on the ground that the ground is just wet, and then a little bit more that comes, it's just more wet. It's not enough there to dry it out, you know? Yeah. Morning, Mike Goyne. Aloha legends. That doesn't sound like the bit of the world where he's from. Isn't he from maybe
he's in Hawaii. He's in southern Illinois.
Yeah, I was thinking he's like middle-ish sort of thing, isn't it? Jinx. Morning, Jinx. Dale Lotherington. I wonder what's the weather like where you are, Dale. You're not that far from me in the scheme of things. Patrika. Morning, Patrika. I'm surprised he's not banned from the YouTube platform at the moment.
Best behavior today, Patrika.
When I put that post on Facebook the other day with all the list of the top contributors to the Facebook group to give the Star Trails code, and Patrice, I don't know if you saw my response to him. He was asking like something about where's mine. I'm a Huawei user or something like this. And the little is it GIF or GIF?
I say GIF.
We said it was like you're locked up or you're in jail or something like this. Morning, so my nickname should be Bane. Morning, Andy.
Hey, Andy.
So today we have a guest. It's not just the two of us this morning. There's three of us this morning. Actually, you can introduce him, Greg, if you like.
Okay, this fine gentleman is a guy who I had on the podcast a while ago, and he's always a real bundle of energy, great guy to talk to, and he was in the Canon Explorers of Light group of photographers, and he's been everywhere. He's done a lot of things. He's been a pro photographer for decades. I'm not sure how many years, but Rick Sammon is with us today, and we are just stoked. So, hello, Rick. How you doing?
Well, I have some liquid of Vegemite here because I went to the store and I got this for Shane. So I just have to. I've had this is my fourth can today. I mean, have you? I don't know if you've tried this liquid Vegemite, but it's like. It doesn't taste that good, but you mentioned that I have a lot of energy. It's the Vegemite. This is it,
There you go.
This is the secret, I'm going to actually, after this, I'm going to run out and buy another 4 cases.
That's awesome.
I watch, every time that we bring someone on, there's usually an Australian comment, like someone will ask about Foster's beer. Like, no one drinks Foster's beer here. It just doesn't happen. Like, if someone drinks Foster's beer here, you don't belong here.
So what do you drink?
Everything but Foster's.
That's funny.
There's so many. You could go into like the big the bottle shops or liquor stores, whatever you call them there. I'm not sure. It'll just be beer, all sorts of different beer, and there'll be a small little bit there of Foster's, which is always full because nobody drinks it.
Wow, that is funny.
The same thing goes for Vegemite. A lot of people eat Vegemite. I eat Vegemite, but when you see people taste it, they go, "Oh, it's disgusting." They've got a big spoonful of it. They put it in their mouth. No, you've got to eat it really sparingly. It's very, very sparingly. It's a pretty strong taste. How are you, Rick?
Well, I'm doing great now that I'm on the show with you guys. Thanks so much for having me. Greg and I've been talking for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months about how awesome the iPhone is. And as Greg said, I've been around a while.
I'm not sure how many years you've been actually, in the professional field, but
well, I'm 73, and I would say I've been taking pictures like forever. Before you guys were born, actually. So,
well,
I
you don't look it.
well, thanks. I started with actually a 4x5-inch Linhof view camera, where you had to put the film in on 4x5-inch film holders, and you had one on each side. And,
oh wow!
Oh yeah, and I had to load it in the closet in my apartment. I had to make sure no dust got on there. I mean, people today do not. Well, some do. Some people don't realize how lucky we are. How far we've come. And here, this is my new view camera. And actually, one of the, and I'm serious. I think one of the cool things about being an iPhone photographer is that you're not removed from the scene. Like I tell people, my specialty is not specializing, right? Because I like to do it all. But I say that, but I love photographing people. And when you're photographing people, with the digital SLR or mirrorless, you're kind of like removed. But here, you're not removed from the scene. And even in landscape photography, you're not removed. It's like riding a motorcycle. Right,
you're immersed in it.
You're immersed in it, and you're not removed looking at f/22, it's a 30 of a second, and the histogram and all this stuff. So I think that the iPhone, for a lot of reasons, can make people a better photographer. I honestly believe that one being that you're in the moment.
I really like that. I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe that like that. I think that's a really cool way of talking about iPhone photography or phone photography in general. Yeah, I like that. That's a really cool. So people that don't know who you are, Rick.
Yeah.
In a tweet.
Well, I'm a dad. My son's a finance professor at Harvard. Yeah, actually Harvard Business School. So I'm very proud of him. And that's my number one job. And my wife and I have happy hour every day at 5 o'clock, which is that's why I asked you before we came on how long the show is. But other than, seriously, I've written 43 books and recorded more than 40. Well, I type fast. This is the key. This is the key to writing books, typing fast. So with 43 books, and I've recorded about 45 Kelby 1 classes. So, I love teaching. I love sharing. Maybe throughout this podcast, I'll share some of my my expressions. But one is my favorite. One is, it's not really a photography expression, but one is, we are a part of everyone we meet, and this is really how we develop our personalities. Like we take in what we like from other people, and we don't take in what we don't like. So we really are. Like my parents are both gone, but they're a part of me. So, this is really true. So we really are a part of everyone we meet. So that's why I like being a teacher. When I'm not around anymore, people might, find something actually on Threads, right? I was going to say Twitter, but now I'm going to say Threads. 20 years from now, say, hey, that guy taught me something. Get a lot of energy. I was on this awesome show, with Shane and Greg. And so I think that's really in life. I think we're all teachers, even if we're not trying to be a teacher. But people
absolutely
right. So we learn from other people. So I try to be a good example in public, anyway.
I've always said, teach what you know and learn what you don't.
Yeah. That is. Learning is health. Here's another one, right? That's a Buddhist expression, right? My father died at 92. I was teaching him Photoshop at 92. The only thing he couldn't get was the clone stamp tool. Press this. That's the only thing he couldn't get. But so learning is health, and I think that's a good way to keep growing and keep learning, because when you stop learning, well, here's another expression. When you're through changing, you're through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a million of them, so I could keep going. But anyway,
we could keep going all through the show this morning.
Well, that's me, but you see my guitars in the back. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, which is the biggest, probably one of the best jazz schools in the world. And I still play jazz.
Did I wear the wrong hat this morning? Should I have wore my Red Sox hat this morning?
No, that's good. I'm in New York, so I thought the A was for Australia's best podcaster. I thought
that's exactly what it's for.
You know,
yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. We'll quickly go through some of these comments here. We had feels like temperature 133 in freedom units. Because you guys use Fahrenheit, of course, and we don't here. So and we have a little bit of a. I'll say it's almost a tradition here of taking the piss out of the differences of Australia and America, and that's one of them. Fahrenheit and freedom units, about the same tons of rain. So Dale's been on the podcast here, or podcast. It's not a podcast, but you got me saying podcast now, Rick. He's up in New South Wales, just about 1,000 k's north of where I am. So there's plenty of different weathers here. Greeting from Greece, 40 degrees. Devo with 4X. 4X is a beer here, and there's not many people that drink it either. No, that's not right. That's not true. There are a few people who drink. I'm not one of them. It's the same with Heineken. Not as big in the Netherlands. Oh, we got a bit of a beer common. Just say Heineken comes in a nice can. Ed's there.
Hey, can I read one?
Absolutely.
I should say, may I read one? Okay, so old 400 says, can we get to the subject? Well, the thing is this. I think if we just started talking about, okay, the iPhone has 48 megapixels, and we could do this, and there's 3 lenses. That's boring stuff. I think people come to people, for their personalities. Scott Kelby has a great personality. That's why people go to him. So we are going to get to the subject, old 400. But I think this kind of like banter is a good way to get going, to show you who we really are. Like if I say I'm a musician, just getting back to the musician, if I could just digress as we were doing before, in music, and I'm answering I'm getting to the point with old 44's comment, and thank you for that. In music, there's a big difference between hearing and listening. So I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. So if I'm driving around in the car with some of my friends and the Beatles songs are on, I'm just using the Beatles as an example. They were a rock group, actually, Shane, before you were born. There were 4 guys from Liverpool. Anyway, if the music is on, right, and we're talking, I'm just hearing it. But if I'm by myself, I'm listening to how incredible a bass player Paul McCartney was. And I'm listening to how John Lennon may have had this unique strumming style. So in music, there's a big difference between hearing and listening. And old 41, this is really important. And you should be happy that you're a photographer, because in photography, there's a big difference between looking and seeing. Non-photographers, they just like go around and they're just like looking at this nice landscape or things like that. But photographers see things. They see the light. They see composition, which I think gives us a much greater appreciation for life, the gift of sight, and finally getting to the point, the iPhone photography. So really, everyone who's watching this should be so happy they're photographers, because you see the world differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yep. So we'll get to the subject then.
Okay.
So
Dale wants to talk about music.
Dale's a musician as well.
Hey, Dale, all right, rock on.
He's a drummer. Yep.
I think he's a drummer, so I'm not sure if it's like still a musician or not, or just someone hitting things together.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding? The key to any band is the bass and the drums. Dale knows this.
He knows I take the piss.
Oh, okay.
He's a really good guy. He's a very he would laugh along with us. I'm sure of it.
Cool.
Perceiving the fight. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Now, Rick, are you you're a music lover. Are you familiar with Metallica? Put that comment back up there, Shane.
Yeah, I know Metallica.
Okay, who does Dale look like?
You know what? I was going to say that. I think if he took off the hat, he'd be the guy. You know, I have to go back to my MTVs from the 80s and watch
in the photo.
Yeah.
See the comment on the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, perceiving the final product before it exists.
No, on the main window where you can see us three.
Oh, music. Now we are on topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy that made that comment, Dale.
Yeah.
Who does he look like?
Well, I was at Woodstock in 1969. He looked like a lot of people who are at Woodstock. Yeah.
He looks like Kirk Hammett, the guitar player from Metallica.
Wait, I'm looking for something. And to prove I was at Woodstock, I have a replica of my Volkswagen van that we drove. Anyway, okay, people want information. Let's give them some information.
Morning, Mario.
Yeah, Mario's in the
Germany. Have you played with Even Longer, Rick?
I have played with Even Longer, but lately I'm using Re-Expose. I have all my apps, all my all my photo apps in a folder here, and I was just playing with Re-Expose, and I find I think it might be I'm getting better results, even just exposure wise. And I upgraded, I spent the bucks to upgrade. So you could take the, the regular exposure and then do like plus or minus EV, whatever you want. And I find that's easier in a high contrast situation than, pressing the histogram, pressing the shutter speed button, moving it back and forth. Because as you can tell, I'm pretty hyper. And I want to get the best possible result as quickly as possible. They call me the shoot and scoot photographer, which is one of the reasons why I could write 43 books. I don't, spend 6 months like a National Geographic photographer photographing an orangutan in Borneo, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I like the ease of use. And, there are so many apps that, like we were talking about, the manual exposure, the white balance, the shutter speed, the this and that. For me, that takes some of the fun out of photography. And in some of these apps, it's easy to shoot with my Sony A1 on autofocus, right?
Yep.
So, but I think long exposures. This has changed, and reheld. This has changed. People don't believe some of the pictures that I publish.
Yeah.
What, handheld? No ND filter? No tripod? I don't know if any of the viewers have tried even long.
I would say that there would be probably half the people who are watching this right now who are iPhone people, and the other half would be a mixture of Android and Huawei sort of photographers. I think that everyone here would know the apps that you're talking about because we talk about them quite regularly. I think the main change that I've seen in the last probably 2 years is the long exposure stuff and of the phones. And Mario, the name that's on the screen there, he's actually the developer of Even Longer. And he sends there's a few of us here some of us here, I believe Greg's one of them as well. He'll send like the test flight stuff too, so we can test all these cool features beforehand. I do a lot of nighttime photography, so astrophotography with the phone, and the star trail photography. Yeah, no one has come close yet to what Mario's doing. Now, I do a lot of stuff with the re guys as well, the re-expose and reflex and so forth, and that they do some great work. Don't get me wrong. And the reheld thing, I think if they launched with reheld, because that's groundbreaking stuff. What Salvo's been able to do there. If they started with that, I reckon they would have just gone gangbusters straight away. They're doing quite well, but I think Mario absolutely owns it from my point of view with the nighttime stuff. The colors that he gets from the stars is just incredible.
Well, I could be wrong, but I think Eric Kuna from Kelby One uses Even Longer a lot. I think they had an iPhone conference, and I think he was using that. But my friends who do that stuff, I'm doing like flowing water, right? So for what I do, it's fine. But I think if you're gonna be more serious and and not have happy hour at 5. So I have happy hour and dinner. I don't know if I want to go out at 3:00 in the morning to photograph star trails. Someone's funny here. They said, just listening to Rick, I'm surprised he only wrote 43 books.
Yeah.
So are we. We're all surprised. This is one of your photos from your Facebook group, which we'll talk about shortly. But that's a heavily cropped image too, isn't it?
Well, it's at the New Croton Dam, not too far from where I live, about 5 minutes away. So that's with the 3x lens on the iPhone 14 Pro. But yeah, let me just read what I say about that. Yeah, that's a handheld shot. It's actually kind of a funny story. I'm there, and there's two guys there with their tripods, their $5,000 cameras, the filter holders they had an ND filter, that's gradual on the top, and it goes clear on the bottom. And I showed them this, and they like almost like jumped back like that. They couldn't believe it. So
yeah.
So I would say
the same story. Yep.
Yeah. So this is like with the 3x lens. It is cropped, but I don't know if I said it there. I processed it in a Snapseed, and for one of the things I learned after all these years is that how lighting is so important. Ansel Adams had an expression. He said, "A picture's not done until you darken the edges." So I don't know if you could go back to that, or if you want to go back to that. But anyway, what I did is I didn't darken it evenly. I darkened it like kind of like on an angle. You probably can't tell here, but I darkened it like on an angle. And I was going to clone out those little twigs on the side of this tiny little tree, but I figure I'd leave it in. So yeah, I go to the dam, and one way to get good at photography, I think, is to go back to the same place over and over and over again, and make a promise to yourself that I'm not going to come back without a different composition. I'm not going to come back without using a different shutter speed, a different aperture, a different lens. I'm not going to come back and have that picture and not process it a different way.
Yep.
So this is, a dark. I added a little blue tint to it. So I think I've been to the dam. We've lived here 40 years. I've been there hundreds of times, and I make that promise to myself. I say, I am not going to come back without something different. And it's amazing, right? If we do that, if we could say, hey, and that's a great feeling of accomplishment. And then the benefit is you have pictures for your 43 books.
Yeah, except one of those books, right, Rick? You might as well plug it.
Yeah, actually several of the books they're available on Amazon. One's called Phototherapy, Motivation and Wisdom. It's my best-selling photography book. It came out during the pandemic, and it has not a picture in it. And I'll tell you why. I didn't want people to get distracted by a picture of a tree, by the dam, or a beautiful sunset. But I also have another one, How to Make Money When You're Sleeping, and this also has no pictures in it. But this book is actually all about passive income, which I've become an expert on after all these years. And I got that idea from Warren Buffett, who has an expression. He said, and I quote him in the book, it goes something like, if you don't learn how to make money while you're sleeping, you'll work until you die. Yep. If you don't, And this is true. So passive income is so important. And a lot of people ask me, how do you be a professional photographer? How can you do this, travel all around the world, go to 100 countries like Susan, my wife, and I have been? Well, it's investing your money. It's being a good business person. I mean, Scott Kelby, Eric Kuna, Joe McNally, all the great photographers we could name, they're all Moose Peterson. They're all great business people, and this is really important.
So I come across that sort of mentality, and then I started a YouTube channel, and that's how it works for me. So I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up and I go, I made that much money last night because someone in America and Canada and Europe, because very few Australians watch what I do. They all watch my gear.
And they don't. And the Australians don't drink the beer.
Well, that's right. There's a reason that I live stream at 6 o'clock in the morning, Rick.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Greg, where we had, I can't remember if you were on or it was just myself, where we had Russell Brown on the show from Adobe?
I remember. I was not on at that time.
No? How fun would it be to watch Rick and Russell in a live stream? You and I
that
wouldn't get to talk
cool.
at all. It would be hilarious.
Russell and I have been trading a generative fill pictures on Facebook. And I put some African animals in an Antarctica picture, and he put some camels from in Death Valley, and this is so much fun. And I think getting back to the other comment there about getting to the subject, why do we all get into photography? My guess is it wasn't to make money; it was to have fun, to feel creative, to have an outlet. Right.
That's
and
right. Absolutely.
I'll quote someone else, and then I'll quote a lot more people during the show. Groucho Marx said, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people take photography way too, and music and every art way too seriously, And if you take it so seriously and listen to everybody else, Picasso listened to people when they saw his Cubism paintings. There's those square faces. He didn't listen to anybody. And I think, it's good to listen. It's very good to listen, but it's better to, not better. It's also important to follow your heart.
Sure.
Yep.
So your journey from DSLR to iPhone, what triggered it? I ask this because the similar sort of situation that you had with the dam and the tree and the fellows with the tripods and the lenses and etc. on the expensive cameras, and I know Greg's been through the same thing. I watch on different social media how toxic that sort of conversation can become, especially with astrophotography.
Yeah. Of
people who are out there shooting the stars with an iPhone versus someone who's shooting it with a $6,000 rig. Yeah. Tell us about that, how you went from DSLR to iPhone and how you've come to where you are now with that style of photography.
Well, I have to thank my wife of 48 years, Susan Sammon.
Done.
Yeah. And we never had a fight. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to thank her because she was into it for about 10 years before I got into it. And one of the turning points was a few years ago. I'm teaching a workshop on the Oregon coast. So people come on the workshop to get the slow shutter speed, right? Pictures with the digital SLRs and the mirrorless and all this. So I'm teaching this and I'm pontificating about, use a quarter of a second to do this and bracket your exposures and blah, blah, blah. So, and I have a picture. So we're waiting for the light and everyone has their cameras on tripods. Everyone abandoned their camera and they went over to Susan Sammon, who snapped the pictures, processing it on Snapseed and getting it up there. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think the apps are just so amazing. I think that's really what drove me to the iPhone, especially like Snapseed and what is Distressed FX. Anyway, I have a bunch. Dramatic black and white for your viewers who haven't tried dramatic black and white. This is like amazing. But here's the thing that really did it. Last year, Susan and I went to Tanzania on safari. And we're in the vehicle. She has her iPhone. She's having a lot of fun. And I have my big camera with a 100 to 400 millimeter lens, 100 to 500 millimeter lens. And in the pouch, that's always in my lap. In the pouch in front of me, I have my another big camera with a 16 to 35 and another big camera with a 24 to 105. And for the whole time, I never used either of those. Didn't use for all the wide angle and medium shots, whether it was animals, people, landscape. I used the iPhone, and I actually wrote an article, My iPhone Turning Point. So since that really convinced me that for most of my shots. Then we went to Morocco in March, and I only took the iPhone. I didn't miss the big camera one bit. So now, I really hope that the iPhone 15 has the 10x periscope, but my guess is it might not. And maybe you guys know. Maybe someone knows someone at
I keep hearing 6x.
6x,
yeah. Every year we hear these rumors, and every year I sit there going, well, that wasn't true. Once it's released. So I'm a firm believer now. Just wait till it comes out, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all wish for it. Nice, good zoom on the iPhone. I think generally with that sort of thing, Apple trails behind the other manufacturers. Like that, they will almost certainly put a USB-C charger on the phone, and they'll spruik it as groundbreaking, and it's been done for so long, Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So how do you, when you talk to people about, so that conversation that you had with the guys at the dam, and they've obviously heavily invested in their gear, how does that conversation go?
They were just, wait, someone says, Rick, right now, iPhone slogan next year. They were just surprised, and they wrote down, and they got their iPhones, and they wrote down the apps. They wrote down, the app I was using, Reheld, and they just couldn't believe it. And I think a lot of people, they still can't believe that you could take a handheld shot.
Yep. On your phone, what would be the 3 most used photography apps that you have?
The 3 most used, I would say, Snapseed is number 1. Dramatic Black and White is number 2, and Distressed FX. Would be number 3. That could make it like a painting. Well, those are the creative processing apps. The other apps, would be. Well, actually, I have even longer here, so don't think I don't use it. So I use Reheld, Re-Expose even longer, and I was playing around with Photoshop Express. You can do some fun things with those. I don't have lens flare. Do you guys use lens flare?
I use lens distortions.
Distortions, yeah.
Well, what lens flare does is you could put in like all these different like light streaks from everything from like a sunburst, or for a tail light, you can have the lights go like this. So I think it's just so much fun. I don't think I've ever had more fun with photography.
Yeah, definitely have a look at an app called Lens Distortions. It will give you those lens flares that you have, but it'll also give you things like rain and snow and fog and stuff, and
reflections
it's a good bit of fun.
Lens distortion.
LD lens distortions. Right. Yeah. So, do you shoot RAW when you're shooting?
I was gonna wear. I have a T-shirt, and the T-shirt says "It depends on it." Okay. And so the answer to your
I love it.
It says it on the front and the back. I have it. You could go online. I have pictures of it. I was going to sell it, but it's just too much fun. Anyway, if it's a really serious shot, I'm definitely going to shoot RAW. But if it's like a fun shot, I'll shoot. Not with the live, because I guess with the live Greg knows, you get less pixels with the live than if you don't shoot live.
No, you get the final output is a full resolution picture, but I would seriously use Reheld before I would use live photos.
Oh yeah.
Live photo. Just because I think it's going to give you a better quality image, and the live photo is
you get the braiding that you talked about in that.
You tend to get that braiding. You can the longer the exposure, the better it is. And if you want to do a long exposure, and when I say long, I mean like even up to a second, like half a second, whatever. I still wouldn't use the live photos. I would use something like Re-Expose or something, or even longer.
Yeah. So I shoot RAW if it's really serious, but as you know, it takes up so much space. So anyway, I'm wearing this T-shirt. I broke my ankle 2 years ago this month, and I had it on, and I I wore it to the surgeon, and she liked the shirt. And so the next time I went to her for the follow-up, I gave her the shirt. And she says, like, because people ask her, how long is it going to be before I can walk?
Yeah,
it depends.
It depends. Yeah.
So then I wear it. I wear it to my the cardiologist. When you're my age, you go to a lot of doctors. So I wear it to the cardiologist, and he loved it. So I sent him one. You know, guy comes to me, how long am I going to live? It depends.
but I love that.
I always thought the one single answer that could answer every question was I don't know. But now I'm beginning to think that that's the answer.
It depends.
It depends.
And, you know, what's the best app? What's the best app for a long exposure? Well, for shooting the star trails at night, like Shane does, is different than shooting the handheld shot at the waterfall. But
100%.
It's a funny T-shirt, but if people start to think about that, you know, when I teach a workshop, what's the best long exposure? You know, what's the best lens? What's the best composition? It depends on your creative vision. That's really the answer for photography, I think, when people say, what's the best things? And what's the end use? You know, we were talking before about, you know, I'm going on safari. You know, I've written so many books. By the way, as you probably know, it's hard to get a contract. All these Amazon books that I showed you were self-published books. And by the way, if anyone wants to publish a book, they can send me an email. I could give them some tips. Amazon is amazing. They give you 70% on a book.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's amazing. And the sales are half ebook, half. It's about half and half. But anyway, getting a photo book published today is really hard. So ebooks are where it's at. So if you're doing an ebook, you don't need a 48 megapixel picture of a lion in Africa to put in the book. So if the lion is only like filling up like a quarter of the frame, you crop it, you use, you know, an upsizing, probably don't even need an upsizing program. Well, it depends how far away it is. So we don't need these big files. If ebooks are the way to go, you know, you don't need these big files.
Yep. I absolutely love that. It depends. The amount of comments that with different videos on the channel, and I use a program called TubeBuddy, and it gives me, I can set in there a heap of responses and then just choose the appropriate response to a very commonly asked question.
That's it.
And it just saves me time. And when there's so many times where I look at the question, I'll go, well, in this situation, blah, 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 blah. I'll sit there for 20 minutes typing a response, but I'm absolutely going to make a quick response now to say it depends on the situation. It
depends. That's definitely it. So
100%. So you've got a good, it's your channel, it's your page, the Explorers of Life. It's a private group on Facebook.
Yep. So
we have a group here. So where this is streaming to right now is to YouTube and to that private Facebook group, the Bloody Legends group. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm not sure. Yep. So what I'll do, well, I'll get you to talk me through why you started that Facebook group.
Yeah. Well, before that, I started a phototherapy Facebook group. I was watching TV and I saw actually during the pandemic an ad for Facebook groups. I said, if it's that easy. So that group is called phototherapy, and people post pictures and they say, you know, okay, my phototherapy today was like photographing flowers, photographing, you know, whatever. So then when I got into the iPhone seriously about a year ago, I thought, hey, this would be fun to start this group. It's a private group, but anybody can join. I'm the administrator, so I and my wife, so we get to okay everybody. But people are posting stuff there, and I'm learning so much, and it's really a fun place. So if people just want to learn about, I think smartphone photography, not only iPhone photography, all different types of photographers, and photography's posted there, but with smartphones. So I think smart, you know, this is like the future, which is here, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It is here. And I'm learning a lot. I'm making new friends. Greg writes I don't know if it's every week, but I asked him to post an article because he's such a good writer and a good photographer, and he knows way more than I do to post something. Is it every Friday? Is it every Friday?
I post it to 3 groups. I post it to Explorers of Life. I post it to the Bloody Legends, and I post it to the iPhoneography podcast group. Cool. So it goes to all 3 groups, and I try to get it there every Tuesday. I missed last week because I've just been so busy. But I got one there this week, and but yeah, I've got, I don't know, probably 7, 8, 9 articles posted.
Well, thank you. People like the last one you wrote about, the braiding, and then the long exposures was good as all the others.
Yeah.
So you're the only admin on this page. You and your wife, I should say.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, you got to farm that stuff out, man.
I'd like to be busy. I like to be busy. And yeah, it doesn't. Time moves, believe it or not, at a different pace for me, which is why I could do, write the books. I post music videos I go bike riding. I just came back from a bike ride. I go bike riding for an hour a day. I walk for an hour a day. I take a nap every day. So time moves fast at a different pace for me.
Yep. When before we even started the Facebook group here, I was finding that with the YouTube channel, people were saying, "Oh, I've done this with my phone with the photo, and I'm getting this sort of effect." But of course, you can't see it in the YouTube comments. And then people were asking for somewhere to share these things. So I created the page, and I'm like, I don't really have time for this.
Yeah.
And I had one of the community Devo contacted me and said, "Would you like help as an admin?" I'm like, "Go for it, dude."
Yeah.
And he does such a good job. And now there's Devo, there's Scott Baker, Dale Lotherington, and of course Greg, all admins on the group. And they're such a good bunch of guys that they're all the same sort of mentality of moderation in the group. It just works really well. It's a really good group. It's very similar to your group in that there's really creative people out there sharing what they do. No one's really arky or salty about the type of vehicle that got them there, whether it's an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever.
Yeah, right.
People just like what people are doing and are happy to share it. I'm really glad that we've done it.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Now on the phototherapy group, we have I think we have 8 moderators on that.
Okay. Yep.
So
it definitely helps.
Oh yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, and I noticed as I look through the photos here, and if I look through the photos on the Bloody Legends group, you're going to find big differences in the photos.
Really?
Absolutely. So these are all great photos, but I rarely do I see photos of flowers, for example, or photos of people. It's different sort of following.
Can you go back? Can you go scroll? There was a picture of my piano right there. Can you click on the picture of the piano to make it larger? This doesn't work. Yeah. So I was playing with. I was talking about having fun, right? And that the camera looks both ways. So I was playing the piano. I was really happy. So I tried the reflex fisheye lens. That screws onto their case. So this is with their fisheye, and it looks like to me, it looks like the piano's like smiling back to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does. It really does. There's even one of the comments there. That's a toothy grin. That's one.
Yeah, that's it. It's a toothy grin.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's very cool.
If you could do this with a phone, it's amazing.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, the difference in what I was getting at, the difference in the two groups. In the Bloody Legends group, there's a lot more astrophotography and star trails and things like that, and long exposure. But if you compared the two, I actually haven't seen an astro photo in this group.
I don't think so. I think Eric Kuna had posted a few early on.
Yeah, I posted one in the early days too.
Oh, okay.
Of my membership. Yep.
Do you remember this photo, Greg, on the other
Yep.
group with
I
that
do.
twisty? That's very cool. That's something that's so simple. I think it looks really cool. Very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So did you say that you had a YouTube channel as well, Rick?
I do, but I don't post. I was posting stuff there, but as you know, you post something there and you put a link on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever, and then you get no views, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So because they know that they don't want you to leave the site. So now I'm posting videos like directly to Facebook and Twitter. But I have some. Actually, I have a YouTube channel, and up at the top left of my website, I have a thing called Rick's Music Room, and I have all the music videos that I've posted there.
Yep. So how often in a week would you say you're out taking photos?
With the iPhone, when I take it on my walk every day, take it on my bike ride every day. So I would say, I'd say every day. And then when I get a new app, okay, I want to get good at distressed effects. I want to get good at dramatic black and white, which I said is like totally amazing. Or I got these lenses from the reflex. The fisheye lens was fun. The macro lenses are really fun. I haven't really tried the telephoto lens yet, but I want to. I will. So,
well, the question that you are asking of us before we went live about on a safari, I would say before you go anywhere, get that telephoto lens and put it on your telephoto lens on the iPhone, and see the length that you're getting there.
Have you tried?
It's quite impressive.
The 60, what is it? 60 millimeter?
The 60 millimeter,
yeah, I think it's it.
Yeah.
So while we talk about that, I've always thought that one of the cool things about phone photography is the lack of gear. You could just go out there with your phone and
exactly
some cool stuff. But now the conversation's going into lenses. Yeah. So how do you feel about accessorizing your phone for phone photography when the idea of it all should be so simple?
Well, this is a great question. My wife and I, who's really an excellent iPhone photographer and processor. Actually, she had a class on the Kelby One iPhone conference. I had two. She had one. I think they had 30 or 40 classes during this. And we talk about this. The last thing I want to get is that grip, right? Yep. But now it's the grip. Then it's the lenses. It's the this and the that. So I want to keep it. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it fun. So that the reflex case is easy, and you just screw on that lens. That I have that, and I also have the clip-on filters. I have the polarizing filter, which is probably the most useful filter for photographers, not only to reduce glare on water and make the blue sky darker, the white clouds appear whiter, but for foliage. If you're walking around in the rainforest or your backyard, and the reflection on the leaves, this makes a tremendous difference. Tremendous difference.
Absolutely.
So I think the polarizing. But I'm not going to get the grip. I want to just. I really want to keep it. I really want to keep it as simple as possible.
Yep. When I started doing what I do, because you can't do astrophotography without a tripod. You just can't.
I use a tripod.
It's a long time. Yeah. So I took the approach initially that it's just simple. You've always got it with you and you can do some cool stuff. But then once I started into the astrophotography, I see it more of a stepping stone with this. Because I would teach photography before I started the channel with cameras doing astrophotography. Yeah. But where I live is incredibly good for light pollution. It's fantastic. Wow. Yeah. We have like Bortle 1 skies here all around the place. I can shoot most of my YouTube stuff in my backyard. It's cool. It's very cool. It's very cool. Wow. But I went from teaching that, and people would say, aren't you worried, because I would sell a lot of prints, aren't you worried that people are just going to copy what you do? And I said, well, if people are going to get up at 2:00 in the morning to go out there and take a photo, they deserve to be able to sell prints.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's the same thing on those astrophotography Facebook groups, when I see people posting photos from an iPhone, someone else posting photos from their A7s or it doesn't matter, the more expensive rigs. And I go, if this person's happy to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go and take a photo with their phone, kudos to them. It's a stepping stone. And at some point, they're going to outgrow the phone and then go and spend the $6,000 on a rig. But for astrophotography, that's the only genre of photography that I think phones can't compete at that level. Like the technology is not quite there yet. I haven't seen. We're kind of restricted on the phones that we can get here in Australia, where for whatever reason, I don't know, but there's some amazing phones out there that I see on different groups and comments on the YouTube channel that with 1-inch sensors and stuff, I just can't get them here. But I think it would be amazing to try this.
It's like the Howie, what's that phone? Great.
Yeah, the Huawei.
Yeah.
Huawei is what Patrica uses, and he takes amazing photos with that phone. But there's other phones that have that 1-inch sensor, and I think that would be absolutely competing almost 1-to-1, depending on what the sensor is, of course, with what the DSLRs are doing on a phone. It's crazy. But the accessories, you have to have a tripod. You have to have some lighting to light paint and stuff if you're going to do that sort of thing. Yeah. It's I'm normally still up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I see that.
He's doing that up at 2 a.m. admitting the Facebook group. That's what he's doing.
Ah, good for him.
Yeah.
He's sober as a judge too.
I don't know if he is that. Yeah. I heard you say before how proud of your son you are.
Yeah.
That he's lecturing, you said, at Harvard.
He's a professor, a finance professor at Harvard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was up last weekend. Actually, you're friends with me on Facebook, Greg. I think, yeah. It's my son was married last weekend up in Queensland, and we went up there, and it's the first wedding I've been to, and I don't know how long where I haven't worked, because I do wedding photography as well. And
that must have been nice.
It was awesome. It was such a proud moment from the son father point of view. Yeah. But then to sit there and go, that's a good shot, and look over it. Oh, there's the photographer. He's all over it. Yep. It was just so good. It was a great day.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Rick, you have a pending request. Well, he's busy, Patrica. Can't you see he's here doing this?
No. I can multitask. I could open a new window. We could do that. I'll show you. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, I think you're in. There it is. 3. Whoa. Hey, Dave and Phyllis. Okay, well, everyone's in. Well, thanks.
Now, when you've just let Patrica into your group, don't blame me.
Oh, really? Well, I get notices. This is spam. This is that. This is violating the rules.
I think he'll be safe.
Yeah, he's fine. He's harmless in our groups. He just gets put in like Facebook jail regularly. Just nothing from our group. Yeah, he's a very, very decent person on the group. Very good photographer. Yeah. So, Rick, is there anything else that you would like to have a chat about?
No, I would just encourage people to, again, have fun with their phone, and don't take life too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously, and don't take your photography seriously, but not to the point where, I have to get the sharpest possible picture. In photography, I say mood matters most, and if the picture's a little pixelated, if it's not, the best composition, that's okay. Just express yourself and definitely follow your heart. I don't know if you know the musician Nikki Bloom. Anyway, she's a singer. She has a band, and do you know the Hall & Oates songs? Hall & Oates song "Can't Go for That."
Yep.
It's a whole, okay. She does a cover of this song, and she's in a van riding around, and the video's overexposed. and the guitar player is playing the cheapest guitar in the world. Someone else is playing a kazoo. Someone's playing a cheap keyboard. It's the worst quality video you've ever seen. Look it up after we get off. Nikki Bloom, I Can't Go For That. It has like 7 million views because content is king. And I think that's what a lot of people, I don't want to use the phone for this because it's not going to be the best, sharpest, most noiseless picture, I've ever seen. Content is king and mood matters most. And I think if we remember that and practice that, we'll become better photographers.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
When I started shooting weddings, I was shooting with Olympus at the 4/3 micro sensor.
Yeah.
And it's horrible in low light. And shooting weddings, receptions, and so forth, it was grainy. Back then I was like too much of a perfectionist when it came to this. I ended up getting rid of all the Olympus gear and going to Canon. And this photo was low light, and it was the group of the groom and all of his groomsmen, just mates at the reception, all having a dance. And it was the emotion in the photo. It still remains to this day one of my favorite photos of wedding photography.
Yeah.
But when I look at it, it's grainy because the ISO had to pump so hard on that little tiny sensor. But it didn't matter. It mattered to me then, but now as I look back at it, I go, that didn't matter. It's a great photo. It shows the emotion of what was happening that day. Right. It doesn't matter. It's a bit grainy. It's just
and getting back to our music conversation, it's the same thing. Mood matters most, and it's the feeling. It's the feeling. It's not, you can listen to old Chuck Berry records. And, they're scratchy, the treble, or the early Beatles record. Ringo talks about this, the early Beatles records, and if they're not remastered, it didn't record the bass, especially the bass drum, but it was still fine. And so anyway, that's my feeling on photography and on music and on life. Enjoy the moment.
You need to write a book just about your one-liners.
Actually, they're called
a gold mine.
Actually, they're called Sammonisms.
Sammonisms, okay.
And I didn't come up with the term. Some of my workshop students came up with it, and I have a Kelby 1 class. It's all my Sammonisms. Like the name of the game, like for composition, the name of the game is to fill the frame. If you're shooting natural light portrait, backlight, shoot tight. For portraits of people and animals, see eye to eye. I could go on and on.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks heaps for coming on, man. That was very entertaining, very informative.
Well, you guys are great. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for all the listeners. And I guess your friend is I'll take off my shoes when entering the group. So I guess I will find out what that means.
Yeah, he's going to be nice. That's what it means.
Yeah.
He'll be nice.
Well, seriously, all kidding aside, thank you so much. It was an honor. I love you guys. Greg, thanks for posting all this stuff. And I hope we could do this again, maybe after our African safari and Antarctica.
I'll see if I can tee up Russell to come on with you, and Greg and I can just sit back and watch.
Yeah, that'd be good.
He's amazing. He developed a lot of the actions for. Do you know the Star Trails action in the Photoshop?
Yes.
It's. I think I could be wrong, but I think he developed that where you just take a nice sky picture, just keep clicking, and it of course for an expert like you, it will look fake, but for if you want to have some fun, like I like to. It's not bad. Yep. But thanks, guys, so much. And but I forgot to ask, do you play an instrument, Shane or Greg?
I don't know.
No. I'm an absolute expert foot tapper.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I could do that.
Well,
I could play the heck out of the radio.
I'm going to have one more sip of the Vegemite, liquid Vegemite.
You're probably just in time for you.
It's worse warm. Cold is not so bad. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Rick. It's great to see you again.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Catch you later.
Bye.